Nice. There you go. It's something shiny. Are you happy? Oh, that's
Oh,
good. I'm glad you're happy. Don't mind me. I'm just over here in a walking depression. But as long as you're happy, I'm happy. Don't mind me. Hey, look at me. I'm over here. I'm learning how to make a crepe. Yeah, I'm learning how to make a crepe. Wow, Bill, you have so many interests. No, just sad. Just sad, you know. Just trying to quiet the voices so I don't put rocks in my pocket and step in the pool. Okay? Who wants a crepe?
hola, hola, magenye. It's Blaise. Welcome to the rumblings of the MadMan. Yeah, where we discuss everything from politics, philosophy, theology. Yeah, just generally criticizing how we do things and finding out if there are better ways of moving forward as a people, as a culture in this mad world with a perspective of of a madman. Anyway, guys, it's June. Ke kgwedi ya bontate. We celebrated Father's Day this month. So to all the fathers, to all the gentlemen who are fathers, a blessed Father's Day to you. Um, yeah, man. Uh, I know you feel like the world doesn't appreciate all the effort that you put in, but it's the social contract that we have for being men. Men, men carry the burdens of the world, of the society that we live in. Man is the glory of God. He's made in the image of God, and yeah, it's in line with that image that we have to carry the burdens of the world. It's a honorable duty and a privilege too. So to all the men out there, I salute you guys for being good fathers to your kids. To the men who escape their responsibilities, man, hey, I like Kenya. You know, if I was a guy who cursed, I would be saying FUs because like Kenya. You know, these guys who who are out here banging, you know, who are banging women here and just ruining women for all of us, right? Just creating a very chaotic situation. And I think one day we'll talk about what is it like as a single man who doesn't have kids dating a woman who has a kid or has kids. I've experienced this myself. I have a friend of mine who has experienced it. Yeah, one day we'll talk about the psychological nightmare that is just truly, like really talk about how men feel about this issue. Because I'll tell you now, no dude is out here looking for a woman who has a kid. I don't even know why it's controversial. But yeah, one day we'll talk about it. But yeah, in line of it being June, it's it was Father's Day. It was Father's. We're celebrating Fathers. Sorry, but most importantly, it's a month, at least, surprised in the world, we celebrate men's mental health, right? So June is known as men's mental health month. So yeah, it's a month when we we look back and we investigate some of our deep traumas as men. And it's a month where at least the world is trying to make us know as men that we are still human. As much as we carry the burdens of the world and for our families, our societies, uh, at least this is for responsible men, that we are still men. And being men means that you are a man, you're a human being, and you have a full range of emotions. So you have emotions of excitement, of deep pride, but you also have emotions such as pain, shame, anxiety, and even suicidal thoughts. And yeah, that's even deep sadness. And that's why I started with that video or that audio from Bill Burr. So what you heard in the beginning is an audio from a great comedian called Bill Burr. It's one of my favorite comedians. In fact, for me, my greatest, he's number one to me. I know a lot of people like David Chappelle, but Bill Burr is my guy, probably because we share the same kind of anger issues. But yeah, and in that video, you see how he talks about just men uh, doing odd things, right? And yeah, their families just not understanding why would a guy be making crepes and things like that. But essentially, men find ways to cope with their pain, or they find distractions on how to cope with the pain that they are facing in their lives. Um, yeah, man, we keep ourselves busy. And that's I am, man. We just have to keep it pushing. We just have to keep it pushing. But I think I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that thing where it's like njaya motati ya boy. Ha re eme re tsamaye." Uh, Depression is it's a serious pain, right? It's a serious mental pain. In fact, maybe clarify. So, if, I guess what I'm talking about here when I say depression, I don't talk about the clinical depression, like, oh my god, yeah, boda, appendicitis. I'm not talking about that one. That one has to do with chemistry in your brain. I am talking about that depression. I think what we usually mean when you use the word depression, we mean sadness. That idling. Where every time you wake up, your default mood is sad because you look at how your life is going, and all the challenges that you're facing. And yeah, man, you feel like you don't have solutions on how to move forward and how to fix them. And part of the solutions that people have suggested is that men need to talk more. I believe it does work. I don't think it's just it's just a term to make us feel good about ourselves, or it's not even a cop out from people who don't want to help us. I actually think talking does help. I know personally in my life, I have like a few solid friends. I probably have like 3 or 4 solid friends in my life. And I'll tell you this, man, whenever I speak with these guys, when I have mental challenges or struggles of sadness, these guys have always come through for me. And yeah, talking does help because I don't know, I think it helps you gain perspective. So it's not about them giving you solutions. It's like as you speak, uh, sometimes the things that exist in your head sound different, or they don't sound as bad as you think they are once you voice them out. Sometimes they sound worse once you voice them out, but I think it's in here. It's in those ideas and those feelings that exist in your head and your heart being uttered and bouncing off someone else's ear who really cares about you. I don't know, man. Something about that whole experience kind of helps. But I also know there's sometimes a state in which a person gets where they are so sad, you just don't want to talk, right? Because men are solution orientated, right? Ultimately, even if I talk or you talk to your friends and you feel better for a while, or you gain perspective, we are simple. We are solution orientated. We know what's necessary to get us out of this feeling of deep dread and anxiety and sadness. I remember myself, I'd suffered for, during I consider the COVID, the life of like a Spani. So it was a bloodbath. A lot of people lost their jobs. I lost my job. I'd worked for a company for like 7 years, I've delivered, I had experience, I had education, I have like I was just two qualifications. But man, even of that, I remember I thought that I'll be unemployed for like a year maximum, but I was unemployed for like 2 years. Like, like thinking about it now, I, it's unexplainable how I survived 2 years. And when I say survive, I don't mean kadipapa, hoja, and things like that, and shelter. Those things I had it covered. I had saved up a lot of money before I lost my job. In fact, ever since I started working, and maybe one day we'll talk about the importance of saving money and not blowing it on that BMW that you want. But skatatela le bava bafana spana pilo buluke saka. But yeah, man, I remember in those 2 years when I say I don't know how I survived, I mean the mental anguish of just being unemployed, bro. You know, I I I came into my 30s unemployed. I look back when I was in my 20s in university, what I thought I would be at the age of 30. I'll be this big manager at some company. I'll be doing the most. But yeah, man, 10:30, um, I had nothing to show for it. At least I felt like it, right? Because that's how that's how that idling at sadness, at high sadness, makes you think. Every other thing in your life seems pointless. Uh, even the achievements that are valid, they don't mean anything because you don't have the things that are important to you. So surviving, man, those 2 years in that sadness, it was terrible, man. One, you feel like your life has no meaning. You feel like you can't contribute. You have parents. You are a star to your parents, but this great star is seem to be struggling. You know, your friends pity you. Okay, I won't say pity you, but you can tell, man, your friends are sad for you. They are praying for you. Not a nice feeling to have for friends. How can I put it? It's good that our friends pray for you, but man, never nice that you are the one who's struggling amongst your friends and they have to pray for you. You know, um, they're wishing you well. It wasn't a nice time, I would say. And in all of that sadness, I know no amount of talking to my friends or how about how I feel would help. I knew the exact solution to the problem. I needed a win and I needed it quickly. I just needed to get a job. I just needed to get a job so that I can start having money and I can start doing things. So it's odd, ne? Like it's odd. It's odd that one would talk about meaning and a job in the same sentence, right? It's like we're saying if it was not for jobs, then one would not have meaning, which doesn't sound right, but it is at a certain level. It's at the face level. It sounds ridiculous, but we have to investigate a bit more. And I remember me being a Christian. You always do that thing. Oh my God, I need to find my identity in the Lord. All of these things that I have, they mean nothing to me. I'm on the ground. Jesus is my savior. My identity is in him. Hey, bruh, it's easy to say those things. Hadizaga di kene, obloma, di teding to sirase blind. During my time where I was employed, I got to live a very nice life. I was traveling the world. I was in the Middle East. I was in Europe. I went to some West African countries. Uh, I lived in Cape Town, man. I lived in Cape Town in a very posh place. These guys were paying like 20,000 rand for my rent there when I was on those projects. So you can imagine a place that cost 20,000 rand in 2017, just how amazing it looks like. I was living that life. I was a Christian during that time, and I really thought those things don't they I didn't think that they contributed to my identity until I lost them, right? It was very difficult to say. There was this thing of saying, "Oh, bro, what's your name?" And say, "My name is Blaise. Blaise did this," right? I would say what I do. Now, I couldn't say that I was just Blaise. It was just my name. Yo, Bafanas. ah, so I learned very quickly that my identity was wrapped up in my job, and I needed to learn how to unwrap it. But that's just the surface level. I think when one says the identity is wrapped up in what they do, it's because of what the job allows us to do or the privileges that it grants us, right? I think personally for me, I don't think it was the lifestyle that I was living at the time. I was very aware that that lifestyle was temporary because I could always be removed from projects. However, I it's it's the fact that your parents are poor. By some miracle, you have a brain and you used it and you studied by which was a miracle on its own, and you finished, and in a country that has high unemployment, you got a job and you started affording things for yourself, man. You made your parents proud. You go home, you build, you extend your parents' place, you pay for the school fees for your siblings, you pay for major things, you help out at home, all of those things. You become a man that your parents wish that you could be, a man who's responsible, a man who could help, but a man whom your parents can be like, we are now praying that he has his own family, a wife and kids, so that he could do these things to grow so that he could do these things that he's doing for us. He could do them for his own family and grow the legacy of the clan, right? That's what having a job or income represented. It's not just you're clocking in there, you're doing your 9 to 5. Just I was doing like a 9 to 6. But anyway, it's not about doing a 9 to 5, and that's where your identity is necessarily wrapped up, but it's in what it affords you to do. You know, for instance, here's an example. Here's an example for young Christian men. I remember I was thinking about this when I was young. I came through the realization that no matter how amazing you are and you spend time on your character and your knowledge and your faith in the Lord, none of that mattered, like, technically, when it came to the choice of women that you want for yourself, who is good for you, a so-called helper, and the ability to actually start a family with her. So this God-given right of man and women coming together to create family, like, practically, no matter how good you are, I suspect no matter how much you pray, unless you have the material conditions in place, first of all, you are not of any real romantic value to a woman, or you could be to some women, but definitely not the woman that you want, right? You could be of value to some other women that you don't like or want, but you're not of value to the kind of woman that you want. So those are the realizations that we experienced, right? So that job allows you to even get married and have kids. And so you can imagine, if you had plans to marry and have kids, suddenly you lose your job. You can't do those things. Imagine if those things are important to you, like really important to you. It's something that you had dreamt, or not dreamt, but planned for and wanted for yourself. And then suddenly this God given right of yours is blocked by material conditions. That can bring serious sadness to a person's life. Yeah, man. And we have to admit that these things happen. And at the same time, the question is, how do we help? As men, like I said, even in that deep state of depression, we always know what is the solution, and the solution is just to get what you need. So if what causes you deep depression is lack of finances, you know that you need a job. If you know what causes you deep depression is the fact that you are lonely, you're a middle class person or affluent person, you have a nice place, you have a car, but you are alone. And when I mean alone, it doesn't mean that you can't get girls. You know, you can get girls who you all you like, but you can still be alone. You don't have a person that you love and they love you back. Those things can cause you sadness too. And you know the solution is actually finding the person. So no amount of talking can solve it. You know the solution to this. So yeah, man. I think sometimes in us helping, or what does helping look like, as we talk with each other as men about our challenges, we always have to be practical about our solutions and see the things that the Lord has placed in our hands to help our fellow brother. You know, it's unfortunate a person can can have connections. When I say connections, you could be some sort of leader at work, or if not leader, but you're in a position that can allow your brother to either get a job or get a tender or get an education or get something, right? You do work somewhere else. There's no harm in leading your friend or your brother in the right direction. Say, hey man, there's an opportunity here. And this not just to say sending them a link to apply somewhere, but I'm saying for those who can, for those who have some power, to actually exercise their power and help their brother and not just pray for them. Praying is not enough. Hoping is not enough. You actually have to do something because we know the solution to some of these problems. If you know that your bro struggles with placing themselves in good situation to find a good woman, because you've been with your friend for a long time, you could know the kind of woman that he would like. It's not wrong to say, hey brah, there's this girl. In fact, I'll say this. I think with my current lady, that's literally how things happen. This my my best friend told me about so this woman. I think uh, a year and um, a year and 3 months before me and this woman actually met face to face. Like he had told me about her outright. I got Brad, you know this girl like Joe. Like because nigga mjaja from a distance, right? Nigga mona go to Instagram, ke gas type is nice. But through some circumstances, we finally met, blah blah blah. But you know, I'm like, I called a guy once I started dating this woman. Ke re, Bra, how did you know this woman when I would be perfect for me? It's amazing. So in that sense, my friend has come through and gave a practical solution to my problem because I did not have a problem of finding girls. That one, in fact, that one we had to repent from those things. But yeah, we had to just repent from those things. But finding someone that I could love, yeah, that one was a difficult challenge. And I just don't know how my friend came through for me in that department. So he helped me. So I think we can do that for each other. Like, please don't take this example as the philosophy that I'm providing. I'm saying there are certain things that we have in our hands that the Lord has placed in our hands that we could use to help our friends to come out of the rut that they're in, to help improve their mood. Just act on it. And you know, this very same friend of mine, man, this guy is a brother of mine. I love him to bits. I don't know how many times this guy has saved my life. And I mean it literally. Yeah, man. I mean it, when I say literally, I mean I've faced deep sadness in my life, and this guy has been there somehow. Like when I needed him, like he has always been there. I remember this other time, a few months back, I had gotten this serious disappointment. You know, uh, the disappointment was so bad. I was heartbroken. It has nothing to do with a woman, but it was disappointment that had to do with my life. I was just so demotivated. I'm like, bro, I'm tired. I called him. He could tell that I sounded distressed and sad. And it was on a Friday. I wasn't well. I called some of my friends, tell them what's happening, and yeah, my friends are like 1,000 kilometers away from me. These other ones. This other one was around here. This best friend of mine, a brother of mine, and he, I don't know. I think later on in the evening, his wife comes home, and he's not, Tobutia high sharp. The wife can tell him, man, that guy, man, the way he sounded, he sounded distraught and sad. Because my sadness as a brother, right, has affected him. And he drove, man. He drove like 50 kilometers to come and see me. Like out of nowhere, I hear security at the gate saying, "Hey, bao batla bra, batla ke mang? Ah, monna, ke re mona o teng mona." Ah, yeah, bra. Ke re, bra, you do not know the kind of distraction I was about to start here. In order to distract myself from this pain that I'm feeling, we're going to open an old book called Pleasure, just like Oscar Wilde. I was about to go on a path that I've been fighting against. I was about to defile myself with women. Yeah, but yeah, obviously, I was trying to find pleasure. Hit up your phone, check who you can talk to, things like that. Things that I, in my right mind, I don't want to do. They're never right. Like all guys know this. Uh, I was about to go on that path, and my friend arrived just before I started touching my phone and trying to find out what I can do. And yeah, he sat with me, man. Just sat with me. We spoke. I told him what happened again. But he even slept over and left in the morning. I can't begin to describe what that meant for me. He was my brother's keeper in that moment. We can be each other's brother's keepers as friends. What is a brother's keeper? This is a biblical term. You'd remember in the book of Genesis when Adam and Eve had sons, they had Cain and Abel. And in that story, we have Cain offering a sacrifice according to his own desires, right? He gave a sacrifice of Editolwana. That's what he worked on. He worked on the greens. And he thought that he would give an offering of his own works, not follow the requirement that the Lord had put in place for them to receive forgiveness of their sins and God's favor. Abel did what God required. He gave an animal, and God accepted his sacrifice. And Cain became jealous. Sorry, he became jealous of that. Fast forward, he killed his brother. That's the first murder in the universe. And yeah, later on, ha Modimo a tla a re monna, ntwana yo kae? O se o botsa Modimo, o botsa ka Cain. O re monna, ntwana yo kae? Obviously asking a rhetorical question. Diamond a re nqa ka tlo mpotsa daeding, am I my brother's keeper? Ka tlo mpolella daeding. That's basically what he said to God. So o ne itatola ntwana hae hore ke kena kae ka ho tseba hore mo a leng teng. And that is an attitude, Cain, an attitude of someone who is mean-spirited, who's malevolent too. But a brother's keeper, in the same story, you can define what a brother's keeper is: someone who cares for their brother. And a brother's keeper would have said, "No, I know where my brother is because I'm aware of his life and I'm always of help." So that friend of mine who, in those situations when I struggle, is always there. He talks a lot about being a brother's keeper, and he has done it. And I thank God for who he is. And yeah, may God bless him. And may I also learn how to be a brother's keeper to my friends. I have this other friend of mine uh, who struggles, not struggles, like he has had challenges in his family. He's been separated with his kids, and it's difficult on him, man. It's very difficult for a man to love their kids and be separated because of unfortunate circumstances. But yeah, separated from his kids, and man, you can tell it hits him sometimes that he's sad. Uh, he's far in a city where he doesn't even have friends, so he's away from his kids. We are not there, Smajid, having to just acclimatize to that kind of situation. It's good for me and others to be his keeper. It means we check on him, we visit him, we take flights and visit him. Yeah, man, it's okay to talk on the phone and laugh. You are never too busy for your own friends. You'll never know, man. You'll never know the kind of mental state that your friends are in when they call you. And we are dudes, man. We won't call and say, like, yeah, at least most of the time, I don't know phone about I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling like this. If we thank God that a person will pick up a phone and say, I'm on a Eric phone, let die, man. So if you can't talk to the guy, I'm saying call back your friends. You'll never know, man. If you like, you can tell if your friend is just talking, but not really sharing anything that is of importance to you, at least. But that's what being friends is for. Listen to the person. They could just be needing someone to talk to, and you're their friend and they're reaching out. So you talk with them, you laugh with them, you engage with them, you entertain what they're talking about. And they do the same for you. You reminisce about old times, you talk about interests, whether it's theology, philosophy, cars, anything. Entertain your brothers because you don't know what kind of medicine you are for them in that moment. Because the last thing that we need in this country is another person or another man being so sad that they decide to take their own life. In fact, let me just give you a quick stat here of the end result of terrible mental health in men. Sorry about that. About the ultimate end result of bad mental health amongst men. So in South Africa, we have a 23.5 per 100,000 suicide rate. That's the overall, right? However, the male rate is at 37.6 per 100,000. It means that the male suicide rate is higher than the national average. So it means if you combine females too, we are beyond that national average. When they look at proportions, so when they look at people who commit suicides in our country, men account for 80% of suicide. And then they said suicide is is a leading cause. So it's a leading cause, right, of death amongst young people under 35. So going to proportion, it means that whenever we talk about people who have mental struggles and we hear that someone has taken their own life, 4 out of 5 of those people are men in our country. I don't know what the stat says about the amount of people that take their lives in South Africa. I think it's in the tens of thousands, right? That's a lot of people taking their lives. And there's this thing where guys are weird. So guys, majority basola people who take their lives and say, you are weak. Go check out what you comment. Yeah, they are weak. It's Tyler. How can someone off themselves? The same man would act as if like they have never suffered terrible pain and depression and meaninglessness in their life. Okay, fine. Look, if you have never experienced that kind of pain and meaninglessness in your life, you have never suffered an existential crisis. God bless you, bruh. God bless you, Okakab. If you have never had an existential crisis and suffered a feeling of meaninglessness Okay, now my life means utterly nothing. If you have never felt like that as a man, with all the burdens and the responsibilities that you ought to carry, yet the world fails you, even if you work as hard. If you have never felt that, God bless you, bro. You are lucky. But we have, right? We have faced the feeling of meaninglessness. And I think that during that time when I was unemployed, I felt that feeling of meaninglessness because I felt like of no value to my parents, right? I'm no value to my parents, my siblings. Um, I want to get married and have kids, but I can't do it. Even if I found the perfect woman, I couldn't be able to do it because I don't have, the month on month money to sustain a life for both of us. So if you feel like I'm on our life it's meaningless, it's painful, man. And I can sympathize with people who would say, maybe let's just delete this whole thing, redeem it once. It's a terrible thought, and I I see why people could do it. I'm not excusing it. I can see why meaninglessness can drive people to that feeling of I don't mean anything. Let me just get him an idea. And it's weird. This is like a uniquely human phenomenon, eh? Because human in someone feeling meaningless and taking their life, it's actually proof that human life does have meaning. I could say I don't think animals ponder on meaning and are like, oh my god, my life has no value simply because this and this and this and this. Those are human questions. Existential questions are human, are uniquely human, and they exist because we are made in the image of God. We are conscious, we are alive, we share the same spirit, we share the same spirit as the logos, the great consciousness, the word, the verse, that great reason that brings forth purpose. So we seek for purpose, and if you feel like you don't have purpose, some people just shut that system off. And that's why we have to be there for our brothers. Could you imagine if one of your friends off themselves? Like, oh, so. Like, I've seen these videos where, but they look at the man who has kids and a wife and he seems happy. And then I've been a game because because we have videos now. But once the video, but like how the person was the previous day. And it's like in the whole scenario or like the video, you don't know. Gary, the people are not aware that the guy said. They are only realize now that he has taken his life. Like when they look at him in their eyes, I wanna, bro is not there. Now the question is, how can someone who has a wife and kids and a home suffer from a feeling of meaninglessness to a point where they take their own life? That's a great question. I'm not a psychologist nor a psychiatrist. If anyone knows, in the comment section, maybe share your views. But it does happen. And it's a sad reality and it's a sad thing. And I don't want to live in a world that doesn't want to address that thing because we're gonna have sons, man. Not only that, we already have fathers and we have brothers, we have friends, male friends in our lives. So yeah, I don't know, guys. Like, what is it that we want? So we do want to do this pretentious thing of, yeah, we are hard, we are this. Of course, we aim to be hard and strong. We pursue the ideal, right? Always pursue the ideal, but never idealize. Always pursue the ideal, but never idealize. So we pursue strength and being stoic and being calm amongst, the rough terrain and the rough waves. However, we are not that. Let's not idealize something that does not exist. We are human and we break. We have emotions. We do suffer sadness. And the proof is in the fact that 4 out of 5 suicides in South Africa are by men. It means that men are more susceptible to doing this thing than females. We've seen celebrities take their life. Remember Ricky Rig? These things happen. Uh, so we have to ask ourselves, do you want to live in a country where we can't talk about these things? Because tomorrow, with your fake hardness, you will have a son and your son will kill themselves. Then what? Are you going to say that your son was weak when your son is dead? That fake macho-ness, what are you going to say now? So we need to stop that culture. That one, we need to end it. Yes, let's call each other to strength as men. Let's build each other. Let's pray for one another. Yes, but let's not pretend as if like we don't break underneath. When we do see a brother falling, let us be quick to catch them. Please. When you are aware that this situation is terrible, why is it weird for you to care for your brother? Why is it? Like, why do you find it? I get it. Okay, let me not ask why. Why can't you overcome the weirdness of the situation when your brother is in pain? When your brother loses their mother or their father? Sharp way, Jayam, the boy. What, you find it awkward to give your friend a hug? You find it awkward to see your friend crying, you're just standing like, I get it. The person lost their parent, man. Oh, they are lost their wife. Their wife died. Oh, their wife left them, or their girlfriend left them. Well, what? Enjoy motalo ka basadi ba paya boy. Re di crocodile sa baita. Ke indai de mon. Really? Really? As if you've never locked yourself in a room and cried over a woman wena. Tamile, when you see your own friend being distraught, we have to force him to be okay. It's like, no, man. Be with the guy, man. Take the guy out. And if he's sad, yeah, bro, we know that you're sad. We feel for you, bro. We feel for you. And we will stand with you all the way. Then you encourage. So we encourage whilst acknowledging the pain underneath. Let's not gloss over like the weirdness of seeing your own friend breaking up, emotionally collapsing. Let's not cover it with fake charisma and strength. Guys, that won't help because you make the person guilty, right? You make the person feel guilty for feeling the way that they are feeling. Karage style. Whereas all of us have experienced the same thing that this person is feeling of pain and dread and loss and shame and guilt. So magenye would say, let's stop that thing. Let's stop this weird macho-ness, right? Let's help each other. And I hope as this month comes to an end, we don't just end here. We take this throughout the whole year. I hope we get to a state where it's easy for us as men to talk. Granted, we are not women, because sometimes some of these solutions that come through women. No, men must talk. Men must meet in a room. Like there must be a way that satisfies our nature as men, our honor and dignity, whilst addressing the issues. I don't know what it is, but it must exist. But just throwing things under the rug whilst your friends collapse underneath, I suspect is not the right way. At least not in all situations. If your guy is broken, fine, take him out to go hang out, do things. Can help in that moment. Maybe that's what they need at that moment. But probably there's times when they are just collapsing in front of you, and it's fine to catch them. They're collapsing emotionally, catch them. Wipe their tears, feel for them, pat them on the back and say, I'm fit, I'm sorry, bro. I feel you for what you're going through, man. I'm so sorry. Baby boy, I'm so sorry. It's okay to do that. It's okay. What you lose this weird culture that we have, is that it's awkward to be like that. Let me tell you of a great man who taught me something, right? So when I was growing up, I liked this whole Vegeta character. Like, I think I still do. In fact, as I look now, I have Vegeta towards my television there. But I like the brutality and strength of Vegeta, and he didn't care, he didn't show any emotion, right? But I remember when I became a Christian, came across the most shortest verse in the Bible, and it says, "And Jesus wept." And I thought to myself, right, with Jesus Christ being what he is to us, the Lord of the universe, the creator of all that is living, the one who is without cause, he is cause itself. He's above it, in fact. That great God who took on human flesh and walked amongst us, as wretched as we are, he hung out of us. He understood us. In his God heart, in God mood, felt the pain of humans. And then he wept. What did he weep about? Because his friends, the family of Martha, Lazarus was dead. He was dead for like 4 days. He knew that he was going to resurrect Lazarus. But as he stood out of the city gates there, and Bomafa Batlaoyena and the other people came and they are crying, and it's like Mafa Walada and Jesori Skis and Bomafa Balla. I knew if you were here, Lord, he would have not died. Jesus is about to resurrect this guy in a moment. But seeing the tears and Martha and all of these people crying over the death of Lazarus, it moved him. This great Lord, the great Lord, the great God of heaven, wept. And I learned very quickly this whole Vegeta thing was stupid. That if the God of the universe, who has taken upon himself human flesh to identify with us on the ground, could feel for us, even in things that he was about to solve immediately, he could be moved by our tears and pain, and how pain and suffering shreds the human heart, and he could weep, and he could be sensitive to us. What are you doing with this thing? Now as a dude, that's how I thought of it. Vegetable bahabo. Like man. It actually shows fear, that you are afraid to feel for others. You lack the capacity to identify with others and feel them, because you hate the feeling of you can't help, of you being unable to help. So you shut people off, or you dismiss situations. You don't let situations get to you. But the great God of heaven identified with us, not only in taking upon human flesh, but also feeling our pain and weeping with us. If Jesus Christ Almighty could do that, why can't we weep and feel for our friends? Why can't we love our friends that much? Why can't we pray for our friends that much? Why can't we stretch our hands for our friends? Why can't we, in our positions, at work, in the world, bring our brothers on board and help them? Why can't we do that? Why can't we feel them? What is it with this fake stoicism? Like, I don't get it, Majita. We need to overcome this part. And maybe that's the last point. Guys, get good friends. Get friends who really love you. Friends who love you and love the people that you love. Have friends who love your parents. Because friends who love your parents care about your life. They care about your emotional state. Friends who care about your wife and kids. Have good friends because they'll always be looking out for you and them too. Those friends are careful with your life, right? Because they care. Like imagine, bruh. I sometimes think about my friends. I imagine us being in a dangerous situation where a friend of ours, a friend of mine dies. What am I gonna say to their family, man? Knowing that I'm the cause of their death, or I was part of that whole scenario that caused their death. What am I gonna say? Am I not gonna break when I see that person's parents cry? In my head being like, bruh, had we not been in this weird area, we would have not lost this person. And in the same vein regarding mental health, what does it mean to know that you could pick up signs that your friend was seriously depressed, and instead of talking to them, you did that weird entertain stuff, and you made them feel ashamed for feeling the thing that you are feeling, and then ultimately they take their life. And actually, you're saying that they're weak, fine, but they're dead now. And you look at their parents crying, you look at the mother, the tears in their eyes, you look at the wife, you look at the kids. You'll say it's a selfish thing that he did. Yeah, it is. Suicide is weird. It leaves all this mess behind. But fine, what do you say then? I'm not saying you could have prevented it. I'm just saying we could always do better. Primarily, if we just stop this weird culture that we have of being fake stoicist here, this Andrew Tate stuff. They don't work in this department. An existential crisis does not require Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate is necessary for other things. David Goggins is necessary for other things. I do not think that they are necessary for an existential crisis and dread, what is called angst. Once you are in that state, something else is necessary, and it includes real love. So pray for good friends, value the friends that you have. If you do have good friends, value them, keep those relationships alive, never take them granted. You know, I would say leave the bad ones. When I say leave the bad, I don't mean that, oh, the friends who kind of influence you to do bad things. Yeah, those are bad, but we're adults, we're men now. I don't think my friends can influence me that much to live a life that I don't want to live. But I mean the kind of friends that care about your life, build those relationships, Majida, and will be good for it. And yeah, I think that's the end of it. Let me not talk beyond this. Yeah, I think that is it. And yeah, we will meet next time. Enjoy.